Hey there guys, what's up? What's going on? It is Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another review. But this is not for a movie, nor for a standard TV show. It's for a miniseries. There's a difference, guys. Yes, guys, I have a review for the HBO miniseries or limited series, whatever you prefer to call it, The Night of. I have watched every single episode, and now I'm going to be here to talk about them all because this show is big and it's good. So I gotta promote it. Yes, guys, but before I get into my thoughts on The Night of, I just want to preface, just plug a few things, essentially, and just tell you guys where I am, just really briefly. Unfortunately, summer is over, sad face, and I'm going back to school tomorrow. I'm going to get this review up today, Monday. I'm going back tomorrow, and videos are going to slow down a little bit, but for the next week or so, I filmed about 5 or 6 videos over this weekend. At one point, I just knocked them all out, so I'm going to get you guys a lot of old movie reviews, and I got a top 10 for you, and I have a movie guide video for you, so I got a couple of videos that'll keep you guys engaged over the next 2 weeks. So stay tuned for all that. That'll all be uploading on my channel soon. But anyway, guys, let's get into the topic of this video, and that is HBO's limited miniseries, The Night of. First off, guys, I want to apologize for not having reviewed every single episode, like episode by episode of this whole series. There's a reason why I didn't. It's because I watched the show late. I didn't watch it as soon as it started airing. I started watching the 3rd episode onward, so I'm sorry about that. Nevertheless, guys, I'm going to be reviewing in this video not the series finale, which aired last night, but the entire series in general. I want to talk about the whole series because I haven't talked about it on this channel all summer, essentially, and it's been on since mid-July. So I want to talk about the whole series as a whole, give my basic thoughts, without spoilers in the first half. The first half of this video, spoiler-free. I'm going to review the show just as if it were a movie review, like I'm doing a movie review for a new movie, so you guys can go into this show, if you haven't seen it yet yourselves, completely fresh and blind and having no idea what's going on, no idea of spoilers or anything. Then at the end of the video, I'm just going to talk about a few spoilers, just a few little things. I want to spoil the last part, the finale, and that's about it. Then I'll wrap up. So guys, with that said, let's get into The Night of. Guys, this, again, The Night of aired, like I said, mid-July, early to mid-July, and it was about an hour-long miniseries. It was an 8-part series, and each episode was about an hour long, except for the first one and the last one. And it aired on HBO, and it was from, I know one of the creators was Steve Zalazan. I don't remember the name of the other gentleman, but a lot of buzz was going on around this show, and I got interested into it when I read the synopsis one day online, and I started watching I caught up on the 1st and 2nd episodes, and then I went into the 3rd. So getting into the overall premise, to just sum up the whole miniseries is tough. Like, I would have to go plot by plot, like, of each episode. So I'm basically just going to sum up what happened in the first episode and what eventually goes into the rest of the series, like where the rest of the series goes, essentially. So, guys, the series is set in the modern day in New York, in and around New York. And we focus on a young 20-something-year-old college student. His name is Nasir Khan, and he is played by Riz Ahmed. And one night, he decides to take his father's cab, because his father owns a taxi cab, and go into the city to a party. And on his way into the city, he gets a young female by the name of Andrea who comes into the cab thinking that it's an actual taxi cab that's running, but nope, it's just a sweet little innocent college kid who stole the father's cab. So the two of them, he decides to not kick her out of the cab. They spend a lot of the night together. They do a lot of drinks. They do a lot of drugs. They end up having sex with each other. And Naz, as his nickname in the show, ends up passing out, okay? And we open on him a few hours later. They went back to Andrea's apartment, and he's downstairs in the kitchen. He goes back upstairs and finds Andrea having been brutally and sadistically murdered. She'd been stabbed 20 or so times, And Naz is just like, what the hell? He freaks out. He loses. He doesn't know what to do. So he leaves the apartment, flees the scene, thinking, obviously, I'm going to get blamed for this. And eventually, of course, yes, he does. With everything that happens in the first episode and everything, the wheels of justice spin around, and he gets arrested and charged with Andrea's murder. It is now up to a small-time attorney named John Stone, played by John Turturro, who discovers Naz in jail and decides to help him and build his case up. But John Turturro's character is more so or less that type of attorney who is like, say someone gets busted for drugs or something and they're 9 times out of 10 they're guilty. He's just the type of lawyer who's like, okay, I'll make a plea with the judge, with the jury and everything, and then boom, you're off scot-free. You know, you just got to serve your plea sentence. So that's his type of lawyer. He's never had like a big case like this that's getting so much media attention. And that, my friends, is the synopsis of The Night Of. That's basically a concise way to sum it up. Sorry if I went in detail. I wanted to give you set like the little I wanted to set up like the little building blocks, or give you guys an even better idea of what the show is really about and what's really going on in it. So guys, I don't want to sugarcoat it anything, but this is what I'll say about The Night Of. This is everything and more that True Detective Season 2 should have been. That's right, I went that far. Season 2 sucked. Oh boy. Guys, I loved The Night Of, okay? As a matter of fact, after the first episode aired, I wanted to make a video right away reviewing it, but it had been like 2 weeks old, so I said, nah, there's no point. So I knew that by the time this series ended, I was going to do a review. I was going to review it and give you my thoughts on the series as a whole, which is why I had to make this video. Guys, I really, really loved this series. This is one of the best things I've watched on TV all year, by far, and again, I'm not a TV guy, but for me, there's always, like last year, HBO gave us Show Me a Hero. This year, it's The Night Of. They do a really good job with miniseries or limited series, you know, a 6-part, 8-part series. I'm really impressed with them. I think that they pick excellent screenplays, they cast well, and they just do a great job of crafting like a certain tone or style, and that is ultimately the highest bit of praise I can give The Night Of, because it's a fantastic crime drama mystery that is essentially that type of film where you're asking yourself, okay, it's a murder mystery. Who killed the girl? Was it actually Naz, Riz Ahmed? Was it somebody else? We got to look at what the defense team is trying to put together and take away from this whole case and see if they're going to find anyone else. Is there another suspect or anything? So it's that typical type of murder mystery thriller where you got to figure out who did it. But this show is so much more than that. That's only a faction, a small faction of what this show really is about. This show is a hardcore drama that delves deeply into transformations of characters and just the degrading of certain characters and just how far they go on like a downward spiral and how much they change from who they are when we are first introduced to them in the beginning of the series. And that is what makes The Night Of work so well. It's an excellent look at how fierce and effective the judicial system is, and even more so than the judicial system, the penitentiary system, the institutionalized system, the system involving the police force, and essentially that whole process of being in jail and being amongst real hardened criminals in jail who are going to turn your whole life around, essentially, and having to adapt to these new circumstances. It says a lot about adaptation, being able to adapt to new surroundings, essentially changing yourself for the worse, as a matter of fact. And that's what makes The Night Of work so well for me as a really compelling drama and look at that perspective. It's an amazing look at the institutional system of America, and just how, you know, how that whole system is just really flawed. Like, there's a lot of problems with it, and it's just nobody's doing anything about it. And the show also looks incredibly well on corrupt attorneys, corrupt police officers, cops, crooked cops, and it just, I love shows that, I love how the show chose to delve into that path, as opposed to just sticking as just becoming a, just one of those murder mysteries. Oh, we got to figure out who did it, because it's much more than that, and that's what elevated The Night of for me and made me say, yeah, it's better than a lot of other shows I've seen. So that's why I got to give all the praise and credit to HBO, the showrunners for this show, and just HBO in general, because I think that they do an amazing job of picking their material for what they want to air on the program, and I think it's just amazing. I really was really thoroughly engaged in this entire series. I don't think there was I really don't think there was like like an episode that was like the weak one of the, like, I thought every episode was consistently engaging, and every episode introduced new ideas and brought these characters to new places, and every episode was a showcase for amazing performances from the lead cast. And I was just really absorbed and engrossed into the show as it went on part by part. And I honestly couldn't wait to see everything unfold. And by the time we get the finale that we get, which was an hour and 45 minutes, I think, everything was so satisfying. I couldn't have thought of a better way to end the series. I really couldn't have. And I was just really immensely satisfied with it. So I talked about what made this show strong from a writing standpoint. The dialogue is also fantastic, of course, without a doubt. The plotting of where each of these characters goes, where John Turturro's character has to go and look for evidence to build up the defense case, or Amara Khan, I don't know her name, but she plays Chandra, the other attorney, the co-counsel for Naz's defense team. She was amazing. But I loved where the plotting of the show took their characters and had them introduced to other possible suspects who could have done this crime. And while we're focusing on them and them trying to build the defense, we're simultaneously looking at Naz being held up in Riker's penitentiary, Riker's Island, at Riker's Island. One of the worst possible places to be in the American, incarceration system. That's got to be one of the worst. The people there are the worst of the worst. They are hardcore. They are angry. All right, they're not going to take no shit. There's a lot of drugs and everything circulating around the prison. And at the head of everything at Riker's is this one man named Freddie, played by, I think, Michael Kenneth Williams, I believe is his name. Excellent performance from this guy. He's just this really stoic, just like lost of all emotion, but he's at the head of this system, this eternally flawed system, and he seeks to bring Naz into him and sort of use Naz to his own advantage for drug smuggling purposes and other purposes, because Naz has that look of innocence, that look of that, like, look, I'm that scared little college kid. I didn't do anything wrong. I obviously didn't do it. I look innocent. But did he really do it? We don't know. We got to figure that out. So that's just, I love just where the plotting went and how most of the focus of this show went into just everything that was wrong with the incarceration system and the judicial system and everything that was wrong with Rikers, and that's what worked so well for me. And I loved it. I loved it. I love how all of these characters just go on this downward spiral to the point where they end up disgusting each other at points. There's a lead detective involved in all of this. Detective Box is played by Bill Camp, another excellent performance. And I thought he was fantastic as well. There was one standout moment in this finale. I don't want to spoil it. I'll talk about it in a bit. Between him and the prosecutor, Helen Weiss. I don't know the actress's name. But my goodness, my jaw was on the floor, and it just said so much about morals and the judicial system, and I loved it. I loved where it was going. But guys, I want to quickly talk about performances, because obviously there's going to be a lot of Emmy buzz for this series. Of course there's going to be, and I feel, if anything, this has to get best limited series nods and consideration. It's absolutely worth it for that reason. No questions asked, it's worth it for that, without a doubt. I think that the writing and just the show itself deserve much love in that department. And up until the finale, I was like, okay, Riz Ahmed is fantastic, John Turturro is fantastic, but both of them, to me, didn't have like that one specific moment where I said, okay, that's deserving of an Emmy win. The finale canceled that. there is two scenes. There's one scene for each of them in the finale that I feel shows that they are deserving of massive Emmy consideration. John Turturro has to deliver the closing argument for the defense in this movie, in this series, in the finale, and I was floored. I was floored. He left me speechless. I did not know that John Turturro had that much range. I have not seen that type of performance where he just goes all out, where he's at his lowest low at this part in the finale, and I loved it. I thought he was brilliant. Some of the best acting I've seen on television this entire year. John Turturro is absolutely Emmy worthy for that last scene, for that scene in the courtroom. Absolutely Emmy worthy. No questions asked. Same could be said for Riz Ahmed when he's being grilled by the prosecutor. That's all I'm gonna say. He was phenomenal. Not only, both of them were phenomenal in this entire series, but those were the moments where I said, yep, I see them getting nominated for an Emmy, and that's the scene that they're gonna show for each of their nominations during the Emmy show. Okay, yep. I was like, yep, that's that moment they're gonna show, because they were amazing in those scenes, without a doubt. Riz Ahmed also in the first episode, he floored me. I think also I could see him getting nominated for that first episode alone, because he was just flat out mesmerizing. And I really am glad that this kid is going places, because he had Nightcrawler, now he's got the Night of. I'm really, really happy that they're giving him more roles. He's going to be in Rogue One at the end of the year. He was just in Jason Bourne, which was but, you know, that wasn't really for him. That was more so for Matt Damon. But anyway, you guys know where I'm going at. This was his show for the most part. He held his own in all of the scenes where he was at Riker's Island, and I loved it. I loved all of them, and I just loved it. Michael Kenneth Williams was also phenomenal as Freddy. Excellent performance. The conversations that he has with Naz in his cell were amazing, amazingly written, chilling dialogue between the two of them. Between this man who has he's a veteran, he has so much experience in this prison system, and Naz is just that little scared guy who's going to get him places, and I just love that whole relationship that builds between the two of them, that dynamic that each of them share. I loved it. It's really, really beautiful writing. On top of that, on top of how great the writing and the performances are in this series, and I know I've mentioned Turturro and Riz Ahmed, but everybody is amazing in this series. Bill Camp, Chandra's character, whoever played her, Amara Khan, I think is her name, amazing. Naz's parents were great, even Naz's dad. I don't know the names of the actors, but they were fantastic. But another thing that was so great about this show was the way it was shot. My word, the cinematography in this series is just breathtaking. However they color corrected, the colors are so dark and dreary, and it just represents just the state of every character. Like, especially all the scenes at Riker's, everything is just so bleak, and there's hardly much color. It's just so drab, but it brings out that tone, that dreary tone that gives you that feeling of dread and despair for these characters, to see them going down the wrong path throughout the course of the show. It's just an amazing choice of camera work. The dollying and everything is so smooth and fluid, like it's beautiful. Shot sizes, editing, just general cuts worked so incredibly well. Pacing overall of each episode felt pretty strong. I mean, everything worked. The score was amazing. I loved everything about this series. I loved how it concludes. I just think that this is an above average miniseries from HBO. I have but two problems, guys, with the entire series. Only two whole problems with this series. And I feel it's just two minor character things. But I'll say them right now. I feel that Bill Camp's character, Detective Box, was very prevalent within the first two or three episodes, and in the last two. But between episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6, he was either absent or hardly there. And I felt that was one pacing issue, because I feel that, to honestly make me feel like he was an even bigger character than he was, I feel he needed to be in those episodes, more prevalent in the middle part of the series. And there is one decision that was made, two decisions that was made by the attorney Chandra throughout the series when she's visiting Naz in jail, and I don't agree with them. I felt they were a little out of character for her, and I honestly didn't feel like, I wasn't feeling her, I wasn't in her head when she made those decisions. Number one. And number two, logically, I don't see that type of character making those decisions. I will talk about them very shortly, but that's how I felt about my only two flaws with the series. That was it. Other than that, everything else was perfect, guys. I loved this series. It was compelling. It was dark. There were even moments that were darkly funny. Everything that John Turturro was going through with his eczema, that whole foot problem and everything involving the cat. Everybody was like, what the hell's going on with this cat? I finally, in the finale, understood the importance of the cat and what it meant to John Turturro's character in the story, and I think it was just beautiful symbolism. As another tribute to the writing. But it's such a great series, guys, that I can't sing the praises of. It floored me every single episode. It only gets better and better, even though the opening episode alone is one of the best openings to a series probably ever. Guys, in the end, I am going to give The Night of a solid grade of a 9.5 out of 10, or a grade of an A. It's one of the best things you'll see on TV this year, for sure. It was the best show I watched all summer. It was one of the only shows I watched all summer. Shh. No, I did not watch Stranger Things on Netflix. This was my Stranger Things, okay? I'll watch that. I'll get around to watching that sometime. Now, quickly, spoilers. Really quick spoilers. So, spoiler warning. I'll put it in the annotations in this video. I'm 21 minutes in, okay? So, if you don't want to be spoiled, 21 minutes in, I'm only going to talk for a few minutes about just a few spoiler-ish things, and then I'm done. That's all I want to just mention, a few things. So, spoiler territory. Just a few things I want to talk about concerning the finale mostly. As a whole, you understand where the series was going. Again, as I said, I love the focus of Naz in Rikers, and just seeing that character transform from that sweet little innocent kid with hair to that skinhead, just completely soulless man that he became in the show. It was an amazing transformation, and for me, one of the best moments of the entire series was the ending of episode 7, when he and Freddy orchestrated the death of that one guy who brought upon the suicide of that guy that they were using in jail. Naz distracts the guard, and Freddy goes and slits the guy's throat while he's watching TV. That was one of the most jaw-dropping moments of the entire series for me, because I didn't see it coming, and at that point, the whole internet was like, well, shit, do we care about Naz anymore? Like, what if you just give him the guilty verdict? Just keep him in jail, man. He just helped in a murder case now. Now he actually helped in a murder. He might not have murdered Andrea, but yeah, now he just helped in a murder. So I thought that was just one of the most brilliant moments of the entire series, and that was just like the pivotal penultimate moment for his character. That was just like there's no going back moment. Like, that's it. Like, this is a changed man, and I love that this series touched upon that so damn well. It's really freaking brilliant writing. And then getting into the finale, I think obviously a lot of people just wanted to know the verdict. Like, is the jury going to find him guilty or not guilty? And every single moment in the courtroom in the finale was absolutely riveting. With Chandra sprinkling the reasonable doubt on the Hearst driver, or Andrea's stepfather, or Dwayne Reed. I loved that, by the way. It was so great when it was revealed his name was Dwayne Reed. So funny. There was a lot of dark humor throughout the series, which I thought was cool. And then finally, Helen Weiss interrogates Naz on the stand after Chandra does, and just riveting stuff. And at that point, I honestly did not know which way the jury was going to turn. A part of me was like, I could see them finding him guilty. Like, I could totally see them finding him guilty. The evidence against him is insurmountable. And then at the same time, with Chandra's defense, I'm like, I could see them saying, no, I doubt, there's reasonable doubt there. Like, what if one of these other guys actually did it? So I didn't know what the verdict was going to be. Then the actual verdict, obviously spoilers, the fact that the jury was hung literally 6-6, they don't know. I love that they went that route, and that was the outcome of the trial. And then Helen Weiss deciding not to prosecute any further or set up a new trial was, I think, brilliant. Because yes, it set Naz free, but still, his life is gone. Like, his life is done. And I love that about the character, because he's returned home. His relationship with his parents is broken. His mother doesn't trust him. Like, his mother will never see him the way she used to. By far, that's dead. Okay, even his relationship with his brother, I could assume is going to be dead. His relationship with his friends is dead. Everyone is going to stare at him when he's on the street. I could see his love life just crumbling. How the hell is this kid going to get a job? His life is done. Actually, the guilty verdict might have helped him because he just would have been away from all that. Because now he's just going to deal with a living hell. Yes, he's a free man. And he doesn't have to deal with that stuff anymore. But he's plagued now. Now he's doing drugs. He's looking for drug deals in the city streets late at night, and it was just so great. I love the journey of that character so much. It's just amazing, 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 really genius writing, and I loved it. I loved that whole journey. But that ultimately, that verdict, that outcome of the trial, that the jury is hung, literally tied 6-6, and they don't know, I think is just brilliant, because it's just a great testament of we don't even know if Naz did it at this point. I'm on the fence that he didn't do it, because one question I've asked, and I've seen this in comments, a lot of other people have asked, where was all the blood on him during the night of the murder? Like, wouldn't he have a shit ton of blood on him? I mean, obviously it looks really sketchy as hell that he ran and shit, and the knife and everything, but where was the blood? Why doesn't he have any memory whatsoever of doing it? Obviously he was on drugs, but I was on that fence like, okay, I see that. And then I honestly bought into the defense's case that maybe it was one of these other guys. But it turns out it might not even be one of them, because Box uncovered a new lead in the finale. A guy who was one of Andrea's boyfriends, who actually John Turturro met. He was the financial advisor guy. And I loved that revelation as well. I honestly think that he's the most likely suspect. But again, the show leaves that open-ended and open to interpretation. It shows Box and Helen Weiss planning to go after this guy now and prosecute him, look at him, but we don't know if they ever actually prosecute the guy, and I don't need another season or another episode telling me, yeah, Naz is actually proven innocent, this guy's proven guilty, he gets arrested for the crime, blah, blah, blah. I don't need it. I got it all there, because I don't think this show is about finding the man who murdered Andrea. I really think this show is about taking a really innocent, good-hearted kid, essentially good-hearted kid to the most part, a kid who was way different, turning him into a man, but a cold-hearted man who's distant from his family, his friends, and now essentially from the rest of the world because of how much being within the prison system and being institutionalized within that system and just having to become hardcore to adapt to that lifestyle. Like, I think that's what the series was trying to say more so for Naz's story than anything else, than finding the actual killer. That's not what the series was about, and I loved that. And the same could be said for Jon Stone's character. I loved that character as well. Not only did I constantly feel bad for him because of the eczema on his feet and everything and how it spreads in the finale, but I love that shot where his head is in the foreground and the jury's in the background. He's facing them and you see his neck's all red and shit, and it cuts to the reverse angle and we see Jon Turturro's face and everything. The eczema comes back. I loved that. But I loved where that character went as well, because when we open on Jon Turturro, he's just walking around prisons late at night, 3 in the morning, trying to get clients for $250 just to get an easy plea bargain deal or whatever. And I just love where that character went. And he goes on this whole journey of trying to prove Naz's innocence. I mainly think it was for himself, to prove that, yes, I'm a capable lawyer, I could do this. And the fact that he gets in charge of making the closing argument, and he killed it with that closing argument, was so satisfying for me to see. And I really got just how connected he was to this case, and the idea of mattering more so in this big state of case as opposed to something else in a smaller case, like smaller cases he's dealt with. I feel that was so important and so prevalent in the moment where he says, look, all hope's gone after Chandra puts Naz on the stand. He takes the cat back, he brings it back to the shelter thing, the shelter place, and I think that, again, I think that cat was more so symbolic of just of himself, of him being able to handle a bigger case. And he brings the cat back because he thinks, you know what, all hope's done. Like, there's nothing else I have left for me, you know? I had this big case riding and now it's just over. Crash, hit the floor, I'm gonna lose the case. That's it. You know, I'm back to doing my 250 deals a night. And I think he has this one moment when the jury is hung, one moment that's like, you know what? I kind of succeeded, and I loved that. I thought it was just really brilliant writing. Now, guys, getting into that really quick spoiler, that the problem I had with Chandra's character, I feel she did two things that were totally out of character for her, and I get you can make the argument that she's young, maybe she doesn't really all that know what she's doing, she's a younger attorney, but in episode 7, she kisses Naz when she's in the jail cell, and I totally felt that was out of nowhere, and then even to add insult to injury, she hid all the drugs in her lady area and gave them to Naz so he could testify. And that I totally didn't buy at all, knowing that there's security cameras, and I love how they cut back to the security cameras every time. Like, after she kisses him and she leaves the cell, we cut back to the security camera and we see that, look, oh shit, all that was caught on camera. Same thing with the drugs, cuts right back to the security camera. When she meets with the guy to get the drugs, cuts back to the security camera. I thought that was just really brilliant, but at the same time, I didn't feel that those actions were worthy of her character decisions. Like, I didn't feel they matched for a character who's an attorney who's trying to save this client. Like, I don't think she would have stooped into that. And the other thing I didn't get when she kissed Naz was the shot is on her, over Naz's shoulder when she's looking at him and staring into him. But we're cutting back to Andrea, an over-the-shoulder shot of Naz on Andrea when he and Andrea were together that night before they slept together. And I honestly feel that like, it didn't add up to me. Like, it felt like what that shot and those cuts were telling me was that she was thinking of what he was going through with Andrea that night, okay? But I would have rather been on him over her shoulder to see what he was thinking, and then cut to that flashback, because it didn't make sense. She wasn't there that night. So I feel that moment in general just didn't work and was out of character. So with that said, guys, that was the only problem I had with the show. But yeah, I basically got into everything, every moment. I touched upon a few spoiler-ish things that I really want to discuss, things that were eating away at me, essentially. So that's really all I have to say, guys, about the series. I just want to thank you for watching, of course, and I want to really implore you guys to check this out. I think it's really good. I think it's definitely Emmy worthy, and I think it's just really, really worthy of your time. So guys, if you have seen The Night Of, leave me your thoughts on it down below in the comments. Anything you want to talk about, any spoiler thing that's burning away, eating away at you, leave me your thoughts down below. And yeah, I'll get a discussion going with you because I loved it. It was really good. Please watch it. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye, guys.